What's going on YouTube? It's MY here. We're back with the second part of the 1/5 scale big build. Now, one of the things we talked about in the last video is I want to get that chassis done in black. Well, here we go. I've got it painted. Turned out pretty nice. Again, I used that VHT engine enamel. So I got the chassis painted black. And I also went ahead and did the bead locks on my tires here. So we got everything painted, cleaned up. So what we're gonna get ready to do now is go ahead with the reassemble. So let's get started. Alright, so first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and put the front bumper back on. Alright, so we are able to put on the front and the rear bumper. So we got all that installed now. So what we do now is go ahead and put on our front and rear differentials and axles. So here's my front first. Flip her over. Alright, so we have installed the front and the rear axle setups with the differentials. So now, since we have everything done with the front and the rear, what we'll start to do now is actually reinstall the steering servos and the steering setup, or steering setup. Excuse my language there. So this is what we have here. We'll go ahead and get ready to put this in. Now, before I go too far with this steering setup, with the conversion kit, you had to remove the actual hold down for the steering servo on the left side of the truck. So what I do, I have to drill a hole in the chassis and then tap into this block so I can drill in a set screw. So we'll go ahead and tap that hole first before we screw this down, and then we'll be able to attach it from the bottom. So what I did, I grabbed a small piece of wood so I wouldn't damage my table. Put that under there. And we're gonna go, I've already marked my hole. So the hole should be 79 millimeters from the original mounting hole. So what I did, I took my caliper here and actually marked it off to 79. Then we came in here, measured it out, and I made my mark. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and drill that in with the bit and just get about halfway through the chassis there. We got that straight, so now what we'll do is go ahead and start putting the steering system back together. So I'm gonna pull this out. Go ahead and wipe everything down. Alright, and now we'll go ahead and start putting in our steering system. Alright, now we have all the servos and steering setup reinstalled, and that hole that I had drilled on the top side of the chassis, now that we have that servo there, what we'll do is tap a hole through the bottom side so we can actually put a screw into that servo mount that's pre-existing. Alright, so the hole is drilled. Here are the screws that came with the kit. And now we have it all mounted in place. Nice and tight. It's nice and tight, sturdy. So we're good to go on our steering. So what we'll do now is continue with the actual conversion kit install. Alright, so next step what we'll do is we're going to start with our center gears. Alright, so the first thing you do to add our new center drive for the brushless conversion is take the old center drive and take it apart. So we remove the housings off of both ends, and then we'll start dismantling it here. So the next thing we'll do is remove these 4 screws and we'll put on our new spur gear. Alright, so what we've done is we've removed the stock center drive gear, and now we just have our spindle left. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up and then we'll reassemble it. Alright, so here is the new spur gear. This is a hardened spur gear. It's a, I think it's a mod 1 pitch. So we'll go ahead and put this back on that spindle. Alright, so now I've gotten the 62 spur gear onto the spindle. So now we use the same screws that we took out to put it back together. Alright, so now we have the center drive set up with the 62 spur gear. Center drive set up with the 62 spur gear, and we're going to go ahead to the next step. Then we're going to use our top mounting plate. So we're going to slowly work this back together. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll put the Esc Top Mounting Bracket on top of what we already have, and then install our screws here. Screws that came with the kit. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and mount the actual motor mount to the top plate. Now what we'll do is actually mount the brace for the bracket. Alright, so now we have ESC tray, motor bracket, and the spur gear installed. Well, put together actually. Alright, so we now have the motor bracket in place, the ESC bracket in place. We have the stands for the actual mounting positions, and everything seems to be good to go. So now we're going to put on our dog bones. Then start connecting to the chassis. I'm going to flip the truck on the side here, go through these mounting holes, and mount the bracket to the chassis. Alright, so right now we have it mounted. What we need to do now is slide in our spacers and then screw these down. Alright, so as you can see here, we have the ESC tray mounted in, we have the motor mount mounted in, the spur gear, we have everything here put together. So the only thing left to do now is install my battery trays. So that's the next step. That's what we're going to work on now to get this going. So what we're doing now is putting together the 4 guard posts on each battery tray. Alright, so what I'm doing, I'm going with the Trinity. I think I'm saying it right. Turnigy. That's it. I'm going with the Turnigy 4S batteries. 5,000 mAh, about 30C burst. So what I wanted to do was resize my battery trays to make sure my batteries fit nice and snug. Alright, now what we have to do is we have to cut the straps. So what we're going to do now is actually mount the strap to the chassis plate. Alright, so we've pretty much got everything installed now. Only thing left to do are the electronics. So we got the motor mount, the spur gear, ESC, the battery trays. So we're good to go right now. So this will conclude this video. I hope you enjoyed it. We're almost there, almost ready to run. Conversion kit went in okay. Had to do a couple of modifications, missing a couple screws, but for the most part it was a good build. So we're almost finished. Like I said, battery trays, everything installed. So stay tuned, continue watching. Electronics up next.